The last cigar maker in Wockerath, Germany, came from a small farming household sustained by 15 acres and contract labor. Here, growing up with 10 siblings, Wilhelm Prosten ran his small cigar-making business for over 50 years. Born in 1895, he learned this trade after falling ill at age 10 with a bone disease that left him unfit for physical labor. The kitchen serves as his cigar workshop. The equipment includes several boxes for filler and leaf ribs, a bunching table in the corner by the window, and the drying rack above the stove. After leaving school, the boy spent his apprenticeship from 1911 to 1913 in neighboring Cookhoven, where a colonial goods merchant maintained a cigar workshop with 4 workers. Before the First World War, tobacco products were chiefly sold in grocery stores. In the manufacturing process of small cottage workshops, nothing has changed since then. Each morning begins with stripping the binder leaves needed to wrap the cigar filler. Despite the illness that severely limits the 70-year-old's movement, the operations are performed with great skill. When removing the midribs, the aim is to tear the woody stem from the leaf center in one pull, leaving both halves intact. For the daily production of 300 cigars, a correspondingly large number of binder leaves must be prepared. In the lower Rhine cigar factories, approximately double this output was achieved through rational division of labor. Besides the strippers, there were specialized bunch makers and cigar rollers who received different wages. In the cottage workshop, one operation follows another, as it always has. Next comes the making of the bunches. The coarsely shredded filler, dried on the stove rack, is rolled into the prepared binder leaves. The finished tobacco rolls go into the bunch mold, whose cavities are carved to match the cigar's shape. The wooden bunch molds, which represent a significant improvement, appeared around the mid-19th century. Since then, it has been possible to manufacture cigars in various grades with consistent shape as branded articles. Here in Wockerath, there were 2 cigar grades called Deutsche Keule and Alte Herren. One remained popular until the war's end and hasn't been produced since. Fully fermented East Indian tobaccos from Sumatra, Java, and Manila serve as the raw material. These tobacco varieties best suit the local customer's taste. Like his master, the Wockerath cigar maker sources his raw tobacco from a wholesaler in Bremen. The filler, which determines the product's aroma, arrives shredded and ready-mixed. Native Lower Rhine tobaccos, still available in small quantities after the last war, were mainly processed into shag and chewing tobacco. In the century before last, they were also made into snuff. The tobaccos from Wissel, Moyland, and Emmerich enjoyed particularly good reputations. Some Lower Rhine factories also made cigars from them. When the bunch mold's lower half is filled with rolls, the protruding ends are trimmed. They fall into the trough at the workbench edge, where other scraps are also swept. They go into the boxes containing the filler for reuse. The mold's lid matches the lower half, so the tobacco rolls are firmly enclosed when placed together. The amount of tobacco gripped with the cupped hand is measured exactly to match the 5-gram cigars. When rolling the bunch, the filler must be evenly distributed and pressed with the fingers of both hands. This achieves a good draw and even burn. Pipe tobacco also originally came to market in rolled form, known as twist tobacco. For producing smoking tobacco twists, special spinning machines were already used in the 18th century, on which inserted leaves were twisted into endless rolls. The now long extinct profession of tobacco spinner takes its name from this. When tobacco cutting machines appeared around 1800, capable of producing pipe-ready shag, numerous tobacco factories established themselves on the lower Rhine. Some still exist by name today. Industrial manufacturing methods gained little significance in cigar production until recently. Though bunching machines were used as early as 1930 to make the blanks, they could only produce simple cylindrical shapes. For small cottage workshops, the handmade cigar was the best advertisement. For quality cigars, one remained largely dependent on handwork. A separate room next to the kitchen houses the tobacco stocks, which are under customs seal. The storeroom contains the tobacco supplies and cigar boxes for sale. Sacks bearing the shipping firm's imprint hold the finished cigar fillers. Here the spindle press also has its place, on which the filled bunch boards are pressed together so the rolls hold their shape. The scale is needed for customs inspections. The incoming weight of tobacco shipments must match the weight of products plus waste. For this reason, tobacco dust and stems are carefully preserved. The cigar wrapper leaves arrive in bundles. To prevent them from breaking and splintering during processing, they are moistened. On the bunching table, the wrappers are folded into a dampened cloth until they achieve the necessary suppleness. Sand leaves are typically used for the outer cigar casings. They grow close to the ground, ripen earliest, and with a good harvest have a uniform dark brown color. Off-color sand leaves are often enhanced with tobacco powder mixed with adhesive. In the Wockerath workshop, where great value was always placed on pure natural tobaccos, such coloring agents were unknown. The wrapper leaves can only be used once the midribs are removed. The ribs formerly went to smoking tobacco factories, where they were flattened on machines and finely cut for blending into pipe tobacco. The wrapper leaf halves, split lengthwise during stripping, are carefully smoothed and layered. To eliminate the wrinkles, the cigar wrappers are placed between two flat boards and pressed in the spindle press for several hours. The daily homework of cigar making is interrupted only by meals taken beside the bunching table. The cigar blanks remain in the press for 1 or 2 days before they can be finished. The final operation begins with cutting a smoothed wrapper leaf strip to size. To make a clean cut, a tin-plated sheet metal plate is set into the workbench center. In the cigar industry, the most experienced workers were employed as wrapper rollers. They were paid better than the bunch makers. One cannot produce serviceable cigars with poorly cut wrappers. For the wrapper edges to lie smoothly over one another, the outer leaf edge and inner mid-rib strip must be removed. After the tip at the mouth end is cut away, the rolling begins at the cylindrical end. The wrapper is laid, so it encloses the tobacco roll spirally. When wrapping, the moist leaf must be lightly tensioned with the fingers of the left hand. This creates an airtight casing as the leaf skin contracts during drying. At the cigar head, the bunch must be trimmed to proper measure. The end strip is coated with paste so it cannot come loose. Wallpaper paste serves as adhesive, as it doesn't affect the aroma. The final tip is twisted tight with thumb and forefinger. When the protruding wrapper at the cylindrical head is trimmed, the finished rolled cigar can be laid aside. Cigar smoking only became fashionable on the Lower Rhine after 1850, adopted from Holland. Previously, besides the popular practice of snuff-taking, inhaling smoke from long clay pipes was customary. Cigar enjoyment, which advanced rapidly, gained great favor among the rural population even before 1900, though the main market remained the industrial districts. Through the miners, who were forbidden to smoke underground, chewing tobacco came into use already in the previous century. Cut tobacco rolled in paper spread on the lower Rhine, as a cheap machine product only shortly after 1900. The cigarette challenged the cigar's dominance only after the Second World War, though many farmers long remained with traditional forms of tobacco consumption. Among them, the cottage cigar makers found their customers. If the wrapper tears during rolling, the cigar is mended by gluing on a leaf scrap. Damaged wrappers that are otherwise sound are made usable by inserting a smaller leaf. The cigar knife has a curved blade that soon dulls on the bunching plate. It's kept sharp with a fine-toothed file. Rocking motions increase the tobacco knife's cutting action. During wrapper rolling, the contents for one cigar box are finished in succession. Because of the revenue stamp tax, all cigars must be packed in boxes holding 50 pieces here. Before packing, the finished cigars go into a press box whose dimensions match the cigar boxes. Cardboard dividers are inserted to separate the individual rows. They cause the cylindrical shape of the cigars to flatten slightly on top and bottom. When the press box is full, its closure is drawn tight with toggle clamps. To let moisture escape that was drawn in with the binder casings and wrappers, the press box is placed near the stove. After the final pressing is complete, the cigars can be repacked for sale. Customers from the neighborhood or passing through come to the workshop to purchase smoking goods. Even individual cigars may only be sold if they're properly taxed with glued revenue stamps after being placed in cigar boxes. To sell goods produced Monday through Friday, Wilhelm Prosten regularly traveled his customer territory on weekends until 1970. The principal buyers included grocery stores and innkeepers in surrounding villages. Sales went especially well before holidays. Some innkeepers ordered 1,000 cigars at once for the parish fair. For Christmas, prayer books were prepared in large quantities until 1950. Boxes shaped like books with imitation gilt edges holding 10 cigars. The route from village to village, up to 15 miles distant, was formerly covered by bicycle. Since Wilhelm Prosten became wheelchair-bound, he can only visit Wockerath customers. Among them, his products remained highly popular to the end for their quality. In recent years, he could scarcely keep up with demand. It's foreseeable that he must soon give up his trade due to age and severe disability. Though cottage cigar making was already an anachronism in its final years, it will be missed in the Erkelenz region, not merely as a surviving witness to the past,